Hello and welcome to your last video. This video is going to talk about freedom of the press. And this is one of those things that we talked about whenever we looked at All the President's Men, when we talked about the Watergate investigation. It's like, where is the line between free press? What can they print and what can't they print? So freedom of the press, vitally important in the United States. The press or the media sometimes can act as like an additional check on our federal government, on our state government, kind of making the people more aware of what's going on in their government that they elected. So censorship. This term refers to the government or somebody else in authority kind of withdrawing or omitting certain parts of information that aren't sent out to the press. Okay, so I want you to think about some reasons that you might censor information if you're the government, and then answer that in the Ed Puzzle question. Now, sometimes the government can utilize something called prior restraint. Okay, so if there is some information floating around and that information potentially could bring harm to America or to American soldiers fighting overseas, then the government could say, okay, you can't print this because this has the potential to be a national security issue. Okay, but in order to utilize that concept of prior restraint, the government has to prove that the information that they're not wanting to share is a national security issue. Okay, so it can't just be, oh, that's going to make me look bad, so you can't print that. Okay. And gag orders are something that are used. Let me get this picture up here. Gag orders are sometimes used by judges in a variety of different levels of courts that are going to prevent either witnesses or prevent the media from releasing information until after a trial is over. Okay, so there's a landmark case that we're going to look at in this unit, and it's dealing with what is more important, the freedom of the press or a person's right to a fair trial. Okay, so the case that we're going to be talking about is Shepard V Maxwell. And you've basically got this guy, he's a very well-known, prominent member of his community, and he is accused of murder. And he basically, all of the evidence, there was lots of speculation. The media printed a whole bunch of stuff while his trial was going on. And he believed that the witnesses were tainted, that they automatically had this, they had just decided he was guilty before his trial had even happened. So he was found guilty. He was thrown in prison for a really long time. And then he was able to kind of sue for his release. And the Supreme Court was like, look, the freedom of the press is super important, but an individual's right to a fair trial and their ability to prove their innocence is super important as well. So gag orders can kind of help balance that issue, especially in those really high profile cases. Okay, and that's it for freedom of the press. If you guys have any questions, let me know.